All right, so let's go. The next thing we want to talk about today is this Kovalev mess.
Yes.
So, according to Mike Coppinger, um, Sergey
Sources.
Kovalev, sources. Mike Coppinger's quoting sources, of course, because obviously he wasn't present.
Right.
Sergey Kovalev was pulled off of a plane for allegedly
hmm
groping a woman, kissing her, and throwing money at her.
Wow.
So this is, like I said, this is allegedly. So we have to make sure that we say that, but we also have to make sure that we mention this is not the first time
Right.
that Kovalev has had these kinds of allegations. He dealt with this, but right before his last fight. So it's a lot of there's some continuity to some of these stories that are coming out,
hmm
but doesn't mean that they're true. But we do have to say that this isn't the first allegation that has come his way. So
I
the
mean,
one,
look, according. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say one of the first things that I thought about when I saw this or when I heard about this was, what does this mean for the rest of his career? Like, even beyond the fact of this is horrible criminal activity, and if it's true, and we could be talking about somebody losing their freedom, right? But even assuming or even thinking about if he somehow is exonerated of these charges, right?
Mhm.
Based off of what
Which
this
okay, but
report,
you got to kind of go back. You're talking
right?
about the charges that are still pending in California.
Yeah, I'm talking about the charges that would be pending from what allegedly happened at the airport or when he was removed from the plane.
He wasn't arrested. No charges.
Okay, all right,
So
no
what
charge.
I'm saying is it was a disturbance call.
Mm-hmm.
No charges. No arrest. So that's not going to happen.
Right.
But this could be used against him in the case he has pending in California.
Well, if there's no charges, do we could it would it? I mean, is it likely that it would be admissible? I mean, I'm
Um.
not sure.
So yeah, I'm just saying that I think that because reading the article that Mike Coppinger wrote in the Athletic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he referenced a report that was created at the airport,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently he had a quote from the Broward Sheriff's Office
Right. Okay.
acknowledging that there was a disturbance call. I don't remember. I mean, I read whatever he wrote, but
Mm-hmm.
there were no actual formal charges, and of course, everyone's assuming that he was, intoxicated, but that wasn't part of the actual story that he wrote.
Right.
But that, come on, it's the internet. The internet's going to assume it's, based on
Right.
one's history
Yes.
or alleged history that, that look, the bottom line is it seems problematic
It
for
seems
him,
problematic. Yes, for sure.
especially this close to a fight, even if the fight is in his hometown in Russia, he's still fighting
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Yard.
Yes, because there's nothing has there's been no information that this has been canceled, postponed, or anything
Right.
of that nature.
I mean, even as a distraction, right? Like even putting yourself in that situation while you're 6 weeks out. Apparently, this happened on July 15th.
Yes.
So, I mean,
And the fight, what's the fight? Is
24th.
August 24th, right? Right.
Yeah. So you're like 6 weeks out, and you're having this type
Having
these type of
disturbances.
issues. Like, why would you be removed from an airplane?
Yeah.
So
Unless he's really, no, that wouldn't even. I was going to say.
what are the guys in the chat think?
Well, he's not a major favorite in the chat. Let's just put it that way. I mean, if you really
we're being kind right now,
right? If you really look at Kovalev, where he is in his career, right? I think he's about to be 37 years old. He has not looked the same since losing to Andre Ward. Twice has looked very vulnerable, very beatable. Even when our friend Buddy McGirt
Hmm.
put him back together again, so to speak,
Right.
in the rematch against Eliter Alvarez, he still didn't look like quote unquote the crusher anymore,
Right.
right?
Right.
Looked like a totally different guy. He almost looked like a boxer forced to protect a weak chin.
Right.
That's almost what he looked like. And that was never his MO. So now when you factor in this other aspect of things that are going on, that seems like it even further weakens him as a fighter. I mean, I think you made this reference when we talked about it offline. If you got any money at all that you're looking to wager, you probably are going to put it all on Anthony Yard, because
Yeah.
if there's ever been a guy that doesn't look like they're ready to fight in less than a month,
Right.
it's Sergey Kovalev.
Especially against a guy like Yard who still remains to be seen, but apparently he can crack.
He can punch. He's
So
athletic. You know, we don't know how well he takes a punch, because I don't think he's really been in
right,
there
but
with guys that
Kovalev
can
has to
touch
bring
him.
his A game. Kovalev
Yeah.
has to be vintage Kovalev. He can't be a guy that I think we learned with Ward
Hmm.
and the first fight with Alvarez that you give this guy a little pressure, you take him deep, and all of a sudden he kind of runs out of gas.
And the thing of it is you have to ask yourself, was that always the case?
He was just getting
Or
rid of guys early.
I mean, you have to ask yourself, was that always the case? Or was it a is it a situation where lifestyle has started to catch up to him?
I think
And
Kovalev. I think Kovalev in the
mhm,
ring, right, was like a Mike Tyson. He was like a bully,
mhm,
and I think a lot of guys feared him too, and
okay,
he could punch.
mhm,
So I think that Ward. I mean, look, the only two people to beat him were Ward and Alvarez, and he avenged the loss to Alvarez. And
right.
the first Ward fight was close.
First,
I
and
mean,
yeah,
it
because he
was a
dropped
very close
Ward.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very close fight.
Hmm.
I just think it's more of like a mental thing with Kovalev, but he also is aging,
Yes.
and so we got to still see what he has left. But these distractions outside the ring, they can't be. I mean, they can't be positive.
Yeah, these are not positives. Whether he's cleared of these allegations or whatever, they're not positive. They don't help him in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I
Uh,
don't think he's not cleared of them. Whatever happened under eyewitnesses and police. They just chose that he didn't commit a crime.
yeah, well, I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but I'm quite sure if the female that is involved here,
Right.
who is making the accusations, if she were to press charges, then there would be charges involved. And if these things that are being alleged actually happen, these are
Right.
crimes. So then we talk about it going to a different
Yeah.
level. So we don't know
Yeah.
everything that's going to happen there, but we'll see. It's interesting. It really is. It's unfortunate more than anything, because Ness Mendoza says that he thinks that Kovalev may have gone into a depression after Ward. Um, and he said, in his opinion, he felt that Kovalev won the fights against, well, the first fight against
Well,
Ward, not the second.
look, I scored it. I think I live blogged that fight, and I think I had Kovalev winning that first fight, but it was a very close fight. It was one of those fights where we were like, oh, okay, like couldn't really argue.
Hmm.
Okay, I accept it.
Right.
They were very close rounds.
Yeah.
Um, so you could be like, yeah, okay. It
Yeah.
wasn't a robbery or anything like that. But then the second fight, Ward made adjustments, and
Hmm.
he came in and he took it to Kovalev.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the, like you said, the adjustments that were made in that fight for the second fight, it looked like the superior fighter was now showing himself to be superior in the second fight, where
Mhm.
early, like if you did score the fight for Kovalev, you basically scored it that way, largely on the strength of the early knockdown. But in the second half of the fight, it was clear that that Ward had already proven himself to, I think, to be the better fighter. So I
Right.
think that's one of the people tend to look at it that way. It's almost kind of like a little bit like the Orlando Salido Lomachenko fight early
Mhm.
on.
Right.
Salido had it under control, but later in the fight, it was really just kind of like a walk away for Lomachenko. But the way the scoring is set up, he ended up getting, taking that L. But after the fight, I think everyone knew that Lomachenko was still the better fighter. So I think that's kind of what we saw with the first Ward Kovalev fight. But Andrew Coda says, do you guys think that Canelo can take Kovalev's punches if they were to fight? He says, I think that Canelo has a great chin.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Canelo has a fantastic chin, um, thick neck, you know, thick legs, thick, calves, which is usually what will say the type of chin and ability to absorb a punch that you'll see with guys. Big, wide head, and I've seen him cracked. The first time I ever saw Canelo stunned was against Miguel Cotto's older brother, Jose Miguel Cotto. Early in Canelo's career, he got caught flush right on the chin with a left hook, and he went back into the ropes. And you can look in his face and see he was truly buzzed. And but what I noticed was how quickly he recovered, and that's usually what tells me about a fighter's chin. So,
right. Look, Triple G cracked him.
Yeah,
Danny Jacobs hit him flush, and Canelo took it and just kept coming forward.
Yeah, he has a great chin. He has a great chin. He's a hell of a fighter. Yeah. He really is. He really is. I mean, it's just, unfortunately, how good of a fighter he is gets lost in the garbage that's going around, right. and a lot of that is not even of his doing. It's his team and the network and all of that sort of thing. So, but yes, he's a fantastic fighter.